Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lit Long Island Talks with me, Solino. Here we are today at Latino Mixx radio station. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and also download the app. The app is totally free. Latino Mixx with 2 X's at the end. And of course, visit us at the web, www.latinomixradio.com. And today, I'm privileged. We rolled out the red carpet today because we have 3 amazing professionals. First of all, we have Miss Marci Goldfarb. Hello, Marci. How are you?
Hi, Miso. How are you? Thanks for having me.
No, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here today. We also have Mr. David Gustin. Hello, David.
Hi, Miso. Thanks for having us today.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And of course, we have Mr. Adam Klein. Hello, Adam.
Good afternoon, Miso. Happy to be here. Nice to see you.
Very good to see you too. So today is going to be very informative. It's going to be such a great show because it's something that a lot of people don't really think about. Something that it's pretty much in the back of everybody's heads, right? We don't really think about investments. We really don't think about insurance. And of course, we don't think about estate planning. When I say we, I include myself. Okay, so those are the topics that we're going to be discussing today. And of course, our Latino Mixx family, we have Trip. Mr. Tripp, say hello. Yep. So he's the person that's responsible for putting everything together. And of course, Anna. Anna, one of our colleagues, she is the executive director to Latino Mixx Radio. And she is the one that puts all of us pretty much in line. Right, Tripp? There she is. So let's continue. Let's focus on our topics today, which are investment insurance and estate planning. And Marci, since you are right next to me, we're going to start with you.
Okay, that sounds good.
So tell us what you do. Tell us what Marci does on a daily basis.
So I'm a lawyer, and I work at a firm called Schwartz Ettinger. We are in Melville. I am admitted in New York and New Jersey and Florida. We handle a lot of clients that are in Florida as well. And I handle all aspects of estate planning, trust administration, probate. I spend much of my day speaking to clients and helping them make decisions on what they want in terms of creating their estate plan, and also if they are a trustee of a trust, how we are going to administer that trust.
How long have you been doing this already?
I think 33 or 34 years. I'm pretty sure.
Almost nothing.
Correct. Right? My whole life, Miso.
That's great. So now, what motivated you to start into, the estate world?
I am very passionate about my clients, and I'm very passionate that people really need to have a plan to be able to take care of themselves and their families and to make sure that their goals are effectuated. So in the very beginning of my career, I had some clients that there were certain issues that happened, one of which was someone who didn't have a power of attorney and had a traumatic brain injury. And we had a real problem because we were in the middle of a real estate transaction and it almost fell apart. So we learned very quickly how to fix problems. And if we have a situation where I have someone who doesn't have a power of attorney, a client who doesn't have a power of attorney, they don't have a will, they don't have a healthcare proxy, I need to educate them and I need to let them know what the parameters are and what the consequences could be without these documents.
Sure. So now, we speak about families in general, right? So how can young families make sure that their wealth is protected for their families?
So young families should look at their jobs. They should look at what they are doing. They should look at how to protect their interest in their job or in their company. If they need to create any kind of documents such as shareholder agreements or any type of document for their business that's going to help their business to move forward in the future if they are not able to take care of it. And they need to also make sure that their will reflects what their assets are. And more importantly than anything, it's not really part of the question, but anybody that has a child needs to make sure they have a will so that they can name a guardian for their child if they are under the age of 18. Without that document, no matter what you think would happen, the court will become involved in your child's life if something happens to you and your spouse or the child's other parent. If there is no one around to take care of the child who is not a parent, the court will come in and the court will decide who the guardian should be. And in most cases, that is not what the parents would have wanted. So young families need to make sure that they do create these documents in order to make sure that their goals are effectuated.
Yes, of course. Now, what about the age group that you work with?
Oh, I help people that don't have children yet, that are not married yet, all the way up to people who are in their late 80s and 90s. A lot of people have many assets that they want to now create a trust for later on in life, and we help those people. We are really, really pushing now to make sure that people understand what a revocable trust is.
Sure.
Probate is taking a very long time in New York right now, and if you have your assets in a revocable trust, we can avoid many problems for your heirs. So I have a lot of people that are in their late 80s that we are actually creating revocable trusts for and making sure that their assets are protected in that way.
Very nice. And you know what? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to change my computer because I just noticed that I'm looking at you and then I'm looking at my computer, so I'm just going to put it on this side.
Oh, okay. That's easy enough.
That's easy enough. That way we can have I could ask the question more accordingly and looking at you.
Okay, good.
Okay, so no, that's very informative. You know why? Because a lot of times when I'm out there in the community and you know, I speak to whether it's young professionals or a young family or a brand new business owner, though when you say revocable trust or you start mentioning some of the legal terminology, all of a sudden this is what you see.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They say, "Oh, absolutely not. You know, I don't need to go to a professional. You know, my neighbors, brothers, sons, sister, they know what they're doing, and they come to me and they're helping me out." So, how important it is for someone in the community to reach out to a professional?
So it's very important to reach out to a professional. We do not have a consultation fee, so there is no
Very good to know.
downside to someone calling me and asking me for a consultation, and I'm happy to have those consultations because it's very important to educate people and let them know that the forms that they're seeing online are not necessarily going to cover all of the aspects that they need covered. In addition to which, AI is very popular right now, and
Yes.
ChatGPT is very popular, and I was actually at a seminar with a lawyer who went to ChatGPT, asked a question about creating a will. The ChatGPT created the will, and it was wrong in several instances. So it's very important to make sure that you do speak to a professional. And you know, I know in a lot of communities, friends and family are the most important thing, and trust is very, very important. And until someone has a conversation with me, they're not going to know me. So I encourage people to talk and to call.
And not to be afraid,
And
right?
not to be afraid.
Right.
Yeah, no, especially nowadays, like you say, everything is in the internet, everything's on Google, and from a personal experience, a lot of times when you see, when you start looking at different terminologies that you don't understand, you're just going to follow with whatever Google tells you to follow, without you knowing what you're doing.
Right.
Right?
It's very important that you speak with someone who can break things down
Of course.
for you and help you understand. And I am a really big proponent. When I say to my clients, if you don't understand something, please tell me, and I will find a different way to explain it to you.
That's amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much for sharing that. So now, how can a young couple take care of their personal business while building their careers?
I think that the most important thing is that you have to just be aware of what's going on instead of going day by day by day by day and
Right.
letting things just happen. You should set some very small time goals for yourself, maybe weekly, maybe monthly, where you can look and see what your assets are, where your family stands, what your goals are, so you can take stock of everything and make sure that what you are doing is going to be building blocks
Sure.
for your future.
Sure. So now, when you say building blocks, give us an example.
A building block
Yes.
is that you might want to speak to a financial advisor, you may want to speak to an insurance professional, so that you make sure that you are covered. I keep saying the word covered.
Yes.
I hear myself saying that, but it's important because no one else is going to do that for you. Once you are a young professional and you are out of your parents' home, your parents are now going to be preparing for their retirement.
Sure,
And
yeah.
they're not going to be preparing for your future anymore, although
course.
some parents still do.
Right.
But you need to be able to take care of yourself. So you need to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row, legally and financially, both with financial advisors like we have here today and insurance advisors like we have here today, to make sure that every single area of your life is covered.
Of course. Now, what about families in general, or young families? How can they ensure that the assets they're building are distributed the way they want them to?
So we can take care of that through a revocable trust or a will. And you can also, if people do not have a revocable trust or will, they can also have designated beneficiaries on certain accounts. And you should make sure that you check them as you go. Even myself, I went to check the beneficiaries on our insurance, and 3 of them were wrong. So you need to make sure that everything is entitled the way that you want it to be entitled. And when you make a will or a revocable trust, you can determine what assets you want to go to whom, with the caveat that you should know that if you are married, your wife will have a right of election against your estate no matter what you do. You cannot disinherit your wife fully. You can disinherit your children.
Okay, that's really good to know.
Yeah.
So when does that apply?
If you die and you have a wife and you have a will and your will does not name your wife, let's just say, or you do not have a will, your wife has the right to take a certain amount against your estate.
Or
which
a
could be-
spouse, right?
I'm sorry, yes.
Okay,
A spouse, yes, I'm sorry. Up to 1/3 of your estate before
Okay.
your children would get anything. Yes.
Okay, that's really good to know. You know why? Because a lot of times when you speak to married couples, they automatically say, "Oh no, my spouse, they're going to inherit everything I have."
They could.
They could, but
not
it's not
necessarily would they
automatic.
get everything. But
Right.
then their children would. But I was even in a conversation with someone yesterday who is on his second marriage. He has 2 children from his first marriage, and his wife has 3 children from her first marriage. And he has a business, and he has a building, and they have a home together. And I said, "Do you have a prenuptial agreement?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Do you know that your wife is going to be entitled to 1/3 of your estate if you do not have a will or a trust?" And he said, "No." And so this is just, I don't think people know. And that is why it is important to call and
Right.
talk to your friends and talk to your neighbors, but call me and let me help you figure out what it is that you have and what is at stake.
It's all about the education. I think it's all about
And communication.
And communication, right,
Yeah.
right, and not to be afraid.
Right. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of me.
Yeah,
certainly.
please, no, Marci, please, no, she's amazing. So now, Marci, what about young parents? How can they make sure that their children will be taken care of, or by the appropriate guardian should the need arise?
So that, like I was saying before, that has to be done in a will. You have to have a will that names a particular guardian, and I always name a successor and then possibly a successor after that as the guardian of your child or children. And we even say afterborn children at the time of your will. If you're not finished having children, you don't have to create a new will each time you have a child, if your will does say it also covers your afterborn children. And we name a person who will be the guardian. And I don't recommend actually naming a couple to be a guardian in case there's a later divorce. So we name someone as the guardian, and then we also name someone as the trustee. And the trustee will be the person who's going to be in charge of whatever money that you've left for the children, and the guardian is the person that's going to be in charge of the welfare of your child and where your child lives. And you need to think about different parameters, how old your children are, if you want them to stay in the house, if you think that you want your guardian to be maybe your parent lives out of state. Are you going to want your child to move out of state? Are you going to want somebody to move into your home to help your children readjust after something happens that's catastrophic in the family? So there's a lot of things to think about.
Yeah, and now when you say that some people leave their children to a couple, and God forbid something happens, what are the possibilities? So let's say something happens and someone left their child to a couple. So let's
It's
say,
possible that it could be decided in a court if it can't be decided between the 2 of them, and maybe there would be some kind of a joint custody arrangement possible. But there's so many different avenues that could happen that it's hard to say exactly what would happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And Marci, let me tell you something. You are such an encyclopedia, like a walking encyclopedia. We will be here for like 2 hours.
I'm happy to come back anytime. But we have some other guests here, I know. So,
I know.
I'm
So how
happy
can
to.
people, general public, how can they reach out to you?
Thank you. So my email is msg@selawny.com, and I am at Schwartz Ettinger. And my cell phone number, which I give to all my clients, is 516-398-2709. You can call me anytime, text me, let me know where you heard about me, and I'd be happy to speak with you.
Thank you so much, Marci. Like I say,
Thank you.
We need a show for maybe a couple of hours at least, right?
Anytime, so I'm happy to come back. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to come back to you.
Okay.
So thank
I'm
you.
here.
Thank you for now. David Gustin, hello.
Hello,
Welcome.
Miso.
How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about what David does, please.
David has been a financial advisor for the better part of 40 years. And I help individuals and businesses with their financial planning, their estate planning, IRAs, 401ks, all their different investments.
So that was going to be my first question. So what are the different choices available for me in my 401k?
Well, first of all, it's great to have a 401k, and you should take advantage of it if you can. It's giving you a tax deduction to the point where you're not paying taxes on that money.
Sure.
So the money is going to grow tax deferred until somewhere down the road you take it out. Some of the choices that are available are mutual funds, and nowadays a mutual fund is really a basket of individual securities, whether individual stocks or bonds or a combination thereof. So you get to pick all these different choices so you have a diversified portfolio for your 401k.
So now can you explain to us the difference between stocks, bonds, mutual funds?
Sure.
Explain to us, please.
Okay. When you buy a share of stock, you are buying ownership in a corporation.
Okay.
You actually own that percentage of the corporation. When you buy a bond or invest in a bond, what you're basically doing is you're lending money to an entity. So if you're buying a United States Treasury bill or a corporate bond like a Microsoft bond or a Suffolk County Sewer and Water municipal bond, you're lending money to that entity. In exchange, they are promising to give you a certain amount of interest, and they're going to give you back your money at maturity. Say a $1,000 bond, they're going to give you back your $1,000 bond at maturity, whatever that time period is, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 10 years, or 30 years.
Very nice. It sounds to me like we uncovered another encyclopedia here in the show, right? Do you guys remember the encyclopedias? Remember
Britannica?
Britannica?
Sure.
Yeah, and now it's just to show, to have in the background, maybe at a Zoom call. But I remember, going through the pages, right?
Shiny, glossy pages.
Yes,
Yep.
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now everything is like 100% free, right? When you
Right.
go to Google and you Google whatever you need to search. So now,
So let me expand
Yes,
just a
please,
little
go
bit.
ahead.
So you can purchase individual stocks of a corporation, such as Microsoft or Apple or General Electric or General Motors, whatever it is, or you can buy an individual bond. But the nice thing about a mutual fund is that they'll put all of these different stocks or bonds in a mutual fund, one basket, so that you buy the one basket, you're getting a well-diversified portfolio. So whether it's a large capitalization like an Apple or a mid-cap or a small cap company or a real estate or a gold and silver company, you can put them all into these different baskets of mutual funds.
that's great. Now, what about for a young professional? What would you recommend for a young professional? How can they, balance saving for short term? Meanwhile, they have other, long-term goals, such as retirement.
There's people starting out, they need to either save for a marriage, they need to save for a home, they need to save for automobiles. At the same time, it's a really good idea to start early on for retirement. Whatever it is to start, $50 a week, $100 a week, a few $100s a month. If you can put money into a 401k and you work for a company that will match your contribution, this is found money, and it's a wonderful way to start saving for retirement. The individual person should have, as all people that invest should have, emergency monies for whether it's 3 months, 6 months, or a year, whatever your particular amount of bills will be for a certain amount of time. So once that's taken care of, then people should figure out a plan of ways to put money away. Now, we can always help them with that as well.
Sure. And something that I asked you in the past, I think when we first met, is that sometimes when I meet young professionals or business owners or people that have been in business for a long time, when they go to a financial advisor or they go to a designated professional, pretty much they get turned down and they say, you know what, if you don't have $100,000, I'm not going to help you. So what would you recommend, to someone that has maybe $100 or $200 or $300, so like a very small amount of money? Well,
in our particular case, we work with anybody with any dollar amount. We don't turn anybody away ever, and we never have. Whether it's a few $100s or millions of dollars, we do not turn anybody away. Depending on the amount of money that somebody has to start with, we will figure out a plan of how they can invest the money. Whether if it's $100 or $200, we'll try to look at different mutual funds. So a good way to get started with their investments to diversify the portfolio.
Sure.
And whether or not they're going to put money into an IRA. By the way, I just want to make a complete non sequitur move here.
Sure.
Based on the timing of when we are doing this, we're still before people filing their income taxes through April 15th. So one of the ways that if they don't have a 401k plan, one of the things they can do is make a contribution to an individual retirement account, an IRA account, whether through a brokerage house or through a bank or some other type of mutual fund, and they will get a tax deduction for it this year for 2023 taxes. So I just want to point that out to the listeners.
That's really good to know. Now, do you know what the minimum is
yes.
for a contribution?
Yes. The maximum that you're allowed to put away is $6,500 for 2023.
Okay.
There's also a $1,000 catch-up provision for people who are over the age of 50, even though we're talking about young investors. And so, yes, they will get a tax deduction for that and will not pay taxes on those monies that are going into the individual retirement account.
Okay. And now, why is it important? Why is it important for a young professional to start thinking about retirement? Right?
It's going to be here before they know about it. It'll catch up very quickly. And the money that is in the markets, the financial markets in general, that is compounding over an extended period of time, whether it's 10, 20, 30, 40 or more years, you have a better chance of accumulating a very big nest egg if you start early enough. And so it's a good plan to start early.
So what advice would you give a young professional if they want to establish and maintain a retirement fund?
Start by talking to a financial advisor.
Okay.
Make sure you talk to somebody, get referrals from your friends, your relatives, find out about the reputation. If you want to check on an individual person, there is something called broker check. You can put their name into the system, the FINRA website, and you'll find all out about them.
Of course.
You can do that. That's a good place to start. And talk to several different financial advisors. Get a feel. Find out what they're going to charge you. Find out if they're going to charge you for a brokerage account, an advisory account, if they're going to charge a flat fee, or if they're going to charge you a financial planning fee, and find out about all these fees. So whether it's for anybody, they should always ask up front, what do you charge?
Of course.
And how do you charge? Is the consultation complimentary for the first hour, 2 hours, and then go from there?
Sure. How can people reach out to you?
They can reach out to me. Certainly my email is dgustin, DGUSTIN, at dmgpmi.com. They can call my office at area code 516-719-6398. Well, like Marci, I give out my cell phone to all clients.
Please do.
Area code 516-524-6020.
Thank you, David. And we have so many questions, but limited time. So I apologize for that because, again, Marci, 2 hours, another 2 hours, another 2 hours. We'll be here for 6 hours. Right. But thank you. Thank you very much, David. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Now we're going to go and we're going to talk with Mr. Adam Klein. Hello, Mr. Adam. How are you?
Hello, Miso. How are you?
I'm doing great. So can you tell us a little bit of what you do, please?
Yes, I am a certified financial planner with the Forest Hills Financial Group. We have offices in Manhattan, we have them in Queens, and we have one right here in Melville. So I'm housed in the Melville office. I've been with the firm since 1997, and I spend my days just trying to help people have better lives financially, make sure they're protected, make sure that if life gives them good things, we make them great, but if life gives them not so good things, we make sure they're okay anyway.
Sure. So now what motivated Mr. Adam to get in this field?
Like many, many people, I tried quite a few different professions between the ages of, let's say, 22 out of college, in this case up until about 33 or 34. And every time I was kind of in between things, if something didn't work out the way I wanted it to, I'd go to my dad and I'd say, what should I do? Mm-hmm. And he would always say the same thing, go see Nat. Nat lived across the street from us, and he owned an insurance financial planning firm. And I never wanted to go see Nat because all I knew about Nat was Nat does life insurance, and there's nothing sounding fun about life insurance. So I wouldn't listen to him. After 4 or 5 other occurrences, when he said, go see Nat, I said, all right, let me go see Nat. And I went to see him. And when I went to see him, I learned during our initial meeting, not just life insurance. I learned about all the different ways that he and the folks in his firm were helping people. And once I found out that overall, all they did was improve people's lives, I said, you know what? I think I want to do this. And 27 years later, I still want to do this.
And you're still 21.
Well, 22.
Right.
Be 23 in July.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
So now, Adam, what do you think what is a person's greatest asset?
It's funny. There'll be people listening to this in their car, and they'll think like the car they're driving is their biggest asset. Or maybe if their hands on the steering wheel and they see their watch, maybe that's their biggest asset, or the home they're going to. But if you really think about it, your biggest asset is the ability to earn a living. Because all those things that you think about over your life, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have this. Well, how does that happen? Nobody gives that to you.
Sure.
You have to get up, you have to go to work, or in this day and age, you have to roll out of bed maybe to the next room and get to a computer.
Right. Right.
But you still need to be able to do the things that you have to do for your profession to earn an income to then use to get the life that you want.
Of course.
So to us, in my profession, most important thing is the ability, and biggest asset is just the ability to go earn a living.
Of course. Now, you say you've been doing this for 20 plus...
27, 28 years.
20 plus years, right?
Yeah.
So now, is there... according to your knowledge, is there such thing as bad insurance and good insurance?
There's good information and bad information.
Uh-huh.
But there's really not good and bad insurance. It depends on what the need or the want is for it. So if it's a temporary need, it might take us down one path. If it's a more permanent need, take us down another path. But the problem is a lot of the information that people get, and nowadays we all know it's every place.
Sure.
You can click for it, you can dial for it, but it's every place. People hear what they want to hear, and then they run with that limited amount of knowledge to make a decision. If they get more knowledge and they get a better education, then their perception is going to shift with it, and then they're going to be more open to the possibility of a combination maybe of different kinds of insurance for different purposes to take them from now until later on in life, until the very end of life. So it really is about the proper, and I think that's one thing the three of us have in common with our chosen fields, is we're big proponents of providing people with the proper education, letting them understand all the options and the different ways to solve the issues they want to solve, and then letting them pick the one they're comfortable with after they have the proper knowledge base.
Sure, because you guys collaborate.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So that's, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to watch. Even when I walked into the room and you guys were talking and the little conversation here and there, and you were talking about insurance a little bit, you were talking about estate a little bit, and, like the conversations connect. And it's very gratifying to watch, let me tell you. All three of you.
Thank you.
Now, what about how important it is, the overall, insurance overall? What role does insurance play in the overall planning?
It really serves two purposes. It has an early role and it has a later on role. So the early roll is very simple. It buys you time.
Okay.
Because as we said earlier, if I know I can get up every day, go to work and earn money for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years, my life's going to be everything I want it to be. If in my early 20s something happens and I can't get up and go to work anymore, what happens? All the stuff I thought was going to happen ends at that moment, unless I have some insurance that's going to send me checks tax-free every month for the rest of my life, right? So, or if I have a young family and God forbid I pass away. We all know beautiful people that have had horrible things happen.
Sure.
Unjust, but it is what it is. At least financially, that family can still have the hopes and dreams and fulfill what would have happened had the primary breadwinner been around for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So
Sure.
in the early role of it, it simply buys time, and that is huge. Now, later on, when we're retired, for some of the younger folks that may be watching or listening, they don't know this yet. And it's a bad surprise. But at some point, the government says, hey, remember all that retirement money you put away? I know you weren't planning on maybe taking it this year, but you have to take some. Okay? So they're going to get to that point. And the reason is because they never paid along the way.
Sure.
Our worst uncle, Uncle Sam, turns around and says, I would like to start to get some of that money now. Now, at that time, we don't know who's running the country and what tax rates will be. But we know this. If every dollar we're taking is being taxed, we're not going to be very happy. So sometimes it's important to have different tax treatments. And with certain kinds of permanent insurance, there's a cash value component that can be accessed without income tax. So at the time we must take money. If tax rates are really high, we'll take the minimum to satisfy Uncle Sam, and then we'll go to the insurance policies and take some tax-free. So like I said, it starts out with one purpose, but as we go through our financial life and things change, the insurance program can change with us for different roles.
I'm taking mental notes. I'm writing things down here because the information that you're providing, the information that you provided, and Marci, of course, it's we have a third encyclopedia in the house, right?
You have a bald encyclopedia.
Now, I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yeah.
I was in the banking world for 21 years, and part of my responsibility was also to cross-sell life insurance, right? And a lot of people, when they hear life insurance, the first thing they say is like, oh, I'm not planning on dying anytime soon. One time I had a lady that said to me, I want to purchase life insurance for my husband. I want a 10-year life insurance, but what happens if he doesn't die in 10 years? I didn't know what to answer. I didn't know what to say. So what would you say to someone that is very against life insurance?
I won't bore you with the story because we don't have time after 2 hours and 2 hours. I don't want to be 2 more hours. But I learned early on in my career in a planning situation with folks that not everybody feels about their family the way I feel about mine.
Sure.
Or perhaps the way you guys feel about yours. So if somebody just doesn't want to do something, all you can do is educate them on the potential good it might do in a certain situation. And as long as they understand how things work, if they decide, I totally understand it, I don't want it, even though your heart says, oh man, all you can say is, well, I'm here if you ever want to revisit the situation, be happy to rediscuss it with you. Very nice to meet you. Enjoy your day. You can't fight with people because it's
Sure.
a feeling.
Right.
And you can't really fight with someone's feelings. They feel the way they feel. All you could do is try to nudge them along with education to maybe
Sure.
change it. But if it doesn't change at a certain point, I hate to say it because I generally in life, anyone who knows me knows I don't stop. So, and I try to be like as nice as I can be, even if I have to be viciously nice, like trying to help, but sometimes you just can't.
Right.
And then you have to say, I know I did everything I could, and hopefully at some point maybe they reach back out.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, for someone that has a job and their job already gives them insurance, some sort of life insurance, do they need additional coverage?
I could tell you what normally happens.
Sure.
Normally, if it's life insurance, it's based on some percentage or multiple of salary. So depending on their bills, their lifestyle, their family dynamic is 3, 4, 5 times their salary. God forbid something happened. Would that be enough to carry them? If the answer is yes, they might need more or might need any more. But if the answer is no, they may want to supplement with something personal. And also sometimes if they leave work, maybe that insurance stops. And meanwhile, they're getting older. And they leave work, and now at an older age, and maybe their health has changed, and now they have to go try to find it. It might be expensive or unattainable. So I always say it's good to look at the benefit booklet, or in these days, click and get the information, and we'll analyze it together, make sure we understand what it is, how it works, is it portable if you leave, and then go from there. And then the other side of that coin might be a disability component also, percentage of compensation at work. But generally, if the employer's paying for it and you needed to take those benefits, they would be taxable. So it's not the number you see each month in your benefit books, it's something less. And when does it end? And what makes you disabled? What's that definition? That's the most important thing. So again, I'm happy to always analyze it. And then if it's good, first one to say, this is great. If it's pretty good, you should do it, but maybe we supplement it on the outside with a little bit so that between the two, if something happens, we know you're okay.
Sure. Now, I'm Latino. Very proud to say that I was born in Peru. Now, with the Latino community, it's almost like breaking, like you want to break that ice. Like you want to make sure that they know about this, right? So, how do you approach a community that don't really believe in life insurance? A community that when they come to this country, all they want to do is work. Of course, their bank accounts look amazing, but they don't have insurance. So how would you break that ice?
I think there's two parts to it. I think one is, and it's a kind of a cliche, but it's the most truthful cliche there is so much more that makes us all the same than that makes us different.
Right.
So Latino or any other group of people, if you say, how do you feel about your family? What's important to you? If you get to the nuts and bolts of being a good person and wanting to do the right thing for the people we care about, it's not even ice anymore to break.
Right.
It's a little tiny, like a little drop that we could just move out of the way and have a conversation.
Sure.
But the other part you touched on was all that hard work. If you agree and say, hey, you know what, you're right. How long do you think you'd have to work? And I know you're going to be a good saver, because remember, that's the most important thing, is saving consistently. That's how many years you think it would take to get the amount that you want, and then just wait for the answer. What could it be? It's 10 years, 20 or 30. What if something happened next week? Just tell me what your plan would be. And then you wait, and you're going to have and I think then maybe we'd be onto something.
Right, of course.
Right.
So now how can our listeners, our viewers, how can they reach out to Adam?
They can always email me at acline, and that's ACLINE, at FHFG.com for Forest Hills Financial Group. Or they can call me at 631-393-5175.
Great. Thank you very much, Adam.
Thank you.
And final thoughts. Please share anything you want to share, anything you want to share with our viewers and listeners. We're good. We'll go to you, Marci.
The last question that you asked Adam was, how do we reach the community?
Sure.
And this is exactly how we reach the community. So we really appreciate you having us here today.
Thank you.
Because there are cultural differences, and there are things that we may not understand in a particular culture like yours. And if you can say to us, you know what, there is this thing that we have to get around, and how are we going to work together to do that? That's why we're here. So thanks for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, Marci. Dave.
Something I wanted to say, Miso. I taught Introduction to Stocks and Bonds for 26 years through the adult education programs, either at Roslyn High School or New York Institute of Technology or Dix Hills High School. I would urge your listeners to look at their local booklets that they get for continuing education from any high school, wherever they are. And there will be programs that will discuss estate planning. There will be programs that will discuss life insurance or insurance in general. And there will be programs that will talk about investments in general. People can go for a very small amount of money and become educated about these different topics. They could take courses, whether it's one time or a 6-week course or something like that, and learn about these different topics that we've been discussing today.
Sure.
So I would recommend that to your listeners.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
It's a great idea.
Yep.
First of all, thank you for having us. When we met, you had said to us, I think the people in my community should hear this.
Yes,
and
it's a benefit.
You are a man of your word, as evidenced by the last 6 hours of us being here. But I think the other takeaway is there's not one solution. It's a combination. So if you really want to, regardless of your age, if you have somebody other than yourself that you care about, and you want to make sure you have the best life possible, you should have a Marci.
Of course.
Doing that. You should have a Dave. And it doesn't have to be an Adam, but somebody like an Adam okay? But from the different professions making your team, you know life is always better with a good team.
Of course.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So that'd be my takeaway, that create the team around you that's going to give you the best chance at success long term.
Of course. And you know what? I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I wish we could be here longer because we could talk for hours, right? Especially with the knowledge that you have to provide, not only to the Latino community, but, you know, the communities in general, right? So I applaud you because you guys
Thank you for having us.
We applaud you too.
You
Thank
make the difference in our communities. So I thank you. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you to our listeners. Thank you to our viewers. Don't forget to download the app, Latino Mixx Radio, and also follow us on Instagram, Lit Long Island Talks. Thank you very much for tuning in. And don't forget, we have 3 professionals here, so you're ready to receive calls, right?
We're ready.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a great day. Take care.